All right, here we are with Kiki Radke. Kiki, just a little fun way to start the podcast. Let's talk a little bit about yourself. Three things here. So, first one, three things your favorite movie, food, or artist.
My favorite movie is for sure. Oh man, Remember the Titans. By far my favorite movie. My favorite food is for sure steak. And what was the other one?
You could use artist, maybe author, time of the year as well. It could be a
My
genre of
favorite
music too, something
favorite
like that.
season is summer.
Summer for sure.
Yeah.
What about the steaks on the Traeger? Is that the only way to do it now, or do you enjoy the Blackstone as well?
Both of them are good, and we've gotten good at it this winter, like doing it in the like searing it on the Blackstone and then just cooking it in the oven. Gotten pretty good at that too.
The Blackstone is a game changer. It's an
Yeah,
absolute game changer.
I love it.
Everybody,
We use it all the time.
everyone needs one.
Yep.
All right, next one here. If you had to choose the beach or the mountain, sweet or salty, dogs or cats, which ones?
Beach, sweet, and dogs for sure.
Right on. Last one here. Three words to describe you.
Ooh, outgoing, determined, and I guess pretty energetic.
Awesome. Sweet. So, first question then. Let's dive into your background. Describe your family growing up, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, anything. Did you grow up in Hastings originally or are you from Hastings? Walk us through Kiki Radke growing up.
So I was born and raised in Hastings. My mom and dad are Mel and Brian Radke, and I have an older brother, Matthew. Growing up, me and him were always super close because we're less than 2 years apart, and in school we're only about a year apart. So we always shared the same friends. Growing up when I was young, I always wanted to do the same things he wanted to do, which is how I actually got into hockey. He started playing, and I was too young to play. But the next year, I was determined that I was going to play with him and be on his team. So I started playing hockey when I was 3. I went to C's Elementary School from pre-K to 5th grade. Played a lot of sports growing up: soccer, softball, track and field, cross country, you name it. I played it at some point. Um, and then, yeah, I got to high school, kind of narrowed down my sports a little bit, started looking at schools, and I graduated from Hastings in 2016, and then went on to college.
That's awesome. So, you mentioned your brother, Matthew, and
Yep.
your real name is not Kiki. So, talk about how you got the nickname Kiki and where that came from.
Yeah, so I got asked this one time in college too, and I called him out on an interview. He So since he was so close in age to me, he was just started speaking when I was born, and he had a really bad speech impediment. So he couldn't say Caitlin for some reason. It just came out as Kiki, and it was cute, when you're young, and but it actually just ended up sticking. And even now, people think that my real name is Kiki. People are like truly blown away when they find out my name is Caitlin. So it's kind of just become, I guess, who I am. And people always ask me, do you want to be called Kiki or Caitlin? And I truly don't care at this point. It just becomes second nature.
That's awesome. So, you kind of mentioned sports too. Thinking back growing up, what was your earliest memory playing sports or your earliest memory of a sport you played?
Yeah, the earliest thing I could think of was I just have this picture of like the Kniff family, Ishans, my brother and I, and Coopers. We were all on the same team, and my dad, Matt Cooper, and Marty Kniff were the coaches. I just remember like going to practice when we were that young, and like we were all best friends. I think that's part of the reason that I loved the sport so much, is that I started out with all my friends. So that's like my earliest memory that I can really think of playing hockey. I just really liked going to the rink with my brother and like just playing with my friends and being able to like shoot pucks in the garage and do that sort of thing. Um, I guess that's probably the closest I can get to my earliest hockey memory.
Oh, that's cool. You mentioned a lot of sports that you played growing up too, cross country, soccer, hockey. Maybe so those were the sports you played when you were younger too. Let's start in about seventh grade then. Talk about the sports that you started playing then,
Okay.
accomplishments with them, and then let's stop right around ninth grade. Let's just
Okay.
maybe walk through middle school.
So let's see. In sixth grade, I was on the cross country team. That's where I just really learned that I loved to run. I'd never really had gotten into it before. Loved it, loved the team, loved the coaches in middle school. And so I ran cross country from sixth and seventh grade at the middle school level. And then I went to the high school level, varsity in eighth grade and ninth grade. Ended up quitting after ninth grade because of stress fractures and shin splints that I had. And then let's see, also in middle school, I ran track, I believe, in seventh and eighth grade, or sixth and eighth grade. I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as cross country just because cross country was so different every time you ran. I think every course was different, and I guess that was just more exciting to me. Seventh grade, I actually played golf for a year. I was on the JV team, but I loved it. The girls were fun. I don't know why it just didn't really stick with me. I didn't have the love for it like I thought I would. And then obviously I was playing hockey all the way up. I started playing high school on the varsity team in eighth grade. I think those were my four sports in middle school that I played. And then going up through high school, I ran cross country in ninth grade, like I said. Ended up quitting after that. Was on the varsity team in hockey from 8th to 12th grade. Ran track for the high school. The spring of freshman year, ended up quitting though after that. Just couldn't keep bouncing back from the injuries. Was just becoming a lot, and it was putting me out with hockey and stuff too. So I just had to kind of weigh my options there. So then my sophomore year, I actually only played hockey. And then junior year, I was committed at that point to Bemidji. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have some fun with my junior year. And I wanted to play soccer again because I had quit soccer in fifth grade. So I wanted to play soccer again. All my friends played. I was like, you know, let's just see what happens. So I tried out, made the team. I didn't have any talent. I was just fast. So they put me on defense. But I loved it. I had so much fun. Probably one of the best decisions I've made actually was going back out for soccer. But my junior year, I got hurt at a hockey tournament during soccer season. Tore my MCL, fractured my tibia, so I couldn't play soccer my junior year. But I went back my senior year and played, and I absolutely loved it. I had the girls were awesome, coaches were great. They kind of knew my weaknesses more than my strengths, and we just all had fun with it. So that's kind of all the sports I played. Some of the accomplishments, I guess. I know for hockey, I think I was all conference 3 or 4 times. I was all state honorable mention my junior year, all state my senior year. I was a finalist for the Miss Hockey Award my senior year. Got into the top 5 there, which was pretty awesome. That was one of my biggest goals growing up, is I wanted to be Miss Hockey. So I got pretty close. I was actually really content with where I got. I made the all section team for soccer. Not sure how that happened. Let's see. I was captain of the cross country team in 9th grade. So that was kind of exciting. And then now I was a 2-year captain of the hockey team. So I had quite a few. I'm probably missing something in there, but I really enjoyed all the sports I played in high school.
Yeah, we'll dive into maybe hockey just in a second too, but I think one of your biggest team accomplishments was the Powder Puff Championship. So no, I'm kind of joking, but you guys did. I just remember
that was fun. I
McClay
got a
called
little
a penalty on
I
you.
think.
Yeah, my favorite was when McClay called a penalty on you, but
yeah,
I
did lay someone out pretty good, though. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little aggressive.
1 or 2 times, yeah, but that's okay. So let's go through hockey a little bit to walk through me, since that was your biggest sport that you played too for yourself. Walk through each year as well. I know you talked about a lot of the accomplishments that you had with hockey. Walk through starting in 8th grade. You started on varsity that year. Maybe walk through the team as well. Any accomplishments with the team, and if you can kind of maybe break down those accomplishments year to year with hockey as well. Can you just go back through and do that for me?
Yeah. So 8th grade, I tried out, made the team, but I was really small that year. I think I'd barely hit 100 pounds in 8th grade. So I was on the 4th line, but I just kept working. I was getting time on the ice, I was mostly getting time on the penalty kill though. So I think I scored 4 goals my 8th grade year, and 2 of them were shorthanded. So that was kind of like my biggest takeaway from that year. I don't think I won any awards that year, but the team was amazing. I remember the senior class that year. I got picked up from the middle school. Some of the girls would pick me up because I couldn't drive, obviously, and they'd bring me to the rink every day, and they'd bring me home from the rink, and they'd take care of me like a big sister. I remember Josie Stepan taking care of me a lot, almost killing me a few times in her car coming home from the rink, but she definitely stood out that year as like one of the people I really looked up to. And then I made a huge transition between 8th and 9th grade. I started to work out more, and that's when Josh McClay like really kind of pushed me because he knew that I struggled in 8th grade. So he wanted me to become better and really make a big turn in my career that year. So we worked out about 7 days a week that summer. I ended up gaining like 25 pounds and just became a lot sturdier on the ice, became stronger, was able to shoot the puck better. And he really taught me a lot about like controlling my emotions at the same time because I was a hothead. So he really taught me and when to control my emotions, what to do. And I think that's what changed my career then. Going into 9th grade, I was confident. I felt good about my game. And I played that year with Nat Simons, Kit Rudy, and Sammy Clausen. So they really pushed me too. Nat shot pucks with me all the time. And so I think freshman year, I think I was all conference, if I remember right. I still don't think I had many points. I was never really a natural goal scorer or anything like that. I worked hard. I don't know, I did the best I could. Didn't always have the best hands or the best shot. But I was never going to let anyone outwork me on the ice. And then in 10th grade, I really felt like my role had changed on the team, and I had to step up and become more of a goal scorer. So that summer I worked a lot on shooting and stick handling, and like every day in the garage I'd go out there, and I was determined that I was going to be like the stud that next year because I just hadn't been before, and I felt like it was just kind of my time to come. So I worked really hard, and sophomore year I got all conference, and we had some big team wins that year too. We just always kind of fell short in sections. We made it to the semifinal game, and for some reason our section was really good that year, and it was tough to come out of it. We had a lot of talent, a lot of depth, but a lot of the other teams had more. So, and then going into my junior year, when I got voted captain, I was like, okay, like it's kind of a kick in the butt. Like you got to figure it out. Like you really got to step up. So my junior year, I was named captain. I got all-state honorable mention, got to go to the Miss Hockey banquet. And that year was my first year being committed to Bemidji State. I committed the summer of my sophomore year. So I felt like I really had something to prove, because some people get content after they commit. And I felt like at that point, I knew I couldn't get content. I just had to become better. So I think that was probably the best year that I actually had was my junior year. So I got the all-state honorable mention. I was super excited. I felt like I was progressing well towards college. And then senior year, I think I got close to, I think I tied or I'm now second in history for points behind Erica McKenzie. And that kind of broke through my senior year. I think I racked up like 55 or ish points that year. I don't know what got into me, but I had a really, really good year that year. I was feeling good going into college, and I got reassured with being voted into the Miss Hockey finalist group, and I just felt, really good. I wish we could have made it to state at some point in my career, but I guess it just wasn't in our book. Other teams had some good players, and we never could make it. So that's the one thing that I look back on and wish I could have changed in high school. But I feel like my career was still successful, and I'm happy with the impact that I made on our program.
Nice. So the next two questions are a little bit similar, I feel, but if you can maybe break them up, that'd be great.
Yep.
What do you think the most rewarding experience was playing at Hastings High School? And then tell me about a favorite moment as well playing for Hastings High School.
Okay. So I think the most rewarding part for me was just playing for my hometown. There was a point between 9th and 10th grade where I was considering going to Shattuck. My buddies were going there, and I thought, like this might really be my time. Like, might be something I would really enjoy. Um, and I just I thought about, I was like, you know what, I can't. Like, I need to play for my town. This is a town I love. Like, it's made me into the player that I am, the person I am. So I think definitely the most rewarding part for me is just that I got to give back to the community and be someone that now girls get to look up to. Because I remember growing up, like Erica McKenzie was an absolute stud, and like I wanted to be just like her every day. Like I strive to be like her, and then I wanted to be like Brittany Hunnicky, and I wanted to be like all these girls who had made a difference staying in Hastings. And there's just something about like having a Tuesday night game and you win and all your friends and fans are there, and then you come to school on Wednesday and like everyone's so excited. It could have been a team that was horrible, but you won and like everyone was so excited. So that was definitely the best part about playing in Hastings, was just the camaraderie we had. And then my favorite moment was my senior year playing against Burnsville in sections. My best friend and college roommate was the goalie on Burnsville, and we went into, I think, the third or fourth overtime. I think we racked up like 60 or 70 shots against her, and she was just standing on her head like usual. And finally, in the last overtime, we'd been playing for like 4 hours, 4.5 hours at that point, and I scored off of a face-off with Josie Kummer on the ice. It was her first shift of the game, and I'll never forget it. Right off the face-off, I scored, and everyone just went nuts. It was like the best feeling in the world. And then, yeah, we moved on in sections that year, and it was just super exciting. Like it was my last game in the Hastings rink too, so it was just something really special that I'll never forget.
Nice. So you played on a lot of teams too for Hastings. Can you talk about one coach that really stood out for you playing while you were at Hastings? It could be a club coach too, but a coach that really stood out for you. What did they teach you? How did they teach you the stuff? The lessons that you learned, you still take to this day?
Yeah, I'd say I thought about this one, and it's the hardest question that I knew you were gonna ask me. Just with how many coaches I had, like, and they were all so different. Like in Hastings, Steve Benson, he was always the guy who was going to tell you things you didn't want to hear and like push you and yell at you. And but at the same time, like you walk into the rink and he's the first guy to give you a hug, or like you make a mistake, he's the first guy to give you a hug. But he's always going to give you like something else to work for. Like, and he always pushed me to be better at something. And then you had like Corkish, and he was just like like a dad to me. Like he knew when I was up, he knew when I was down, he knew when I needed to figure my stuff out, and he really pushed me. He was gritty, and he like Benny, he'd tell you what you didn't want to hear, and that's why I think I made so many good steps in my career, is because of all the things. Like he'd tell me to work on something over the summer, and I'd go and I'd work hard, and he'd see me progress, and he was always just so proud. And he, even to this day, like we still text all the time, and we reach out to each other. And I don't know, like I've had so many coaches, and like in college, those coaches were amazing too. So it's like I can't even summarize one coach. They're all so different, but they all pushed me so hard to get to the point that I was able to get to.
Nice. So you named a lot of the teammates you've had as well. If you could just pick one of them, what kind of lessons did this person teach you? How did they teach you that stuff? What did you learn? And maybe did you take that stuff too? You've kind of talked about when you were the young kid on the team and then you became the captain and things were different. Did those lessons that person taught you kind of resonate then too?
Yeah. So the first person that came to my head was Natalie Simon. So she was 2 years older than me. Um, and she lived like close to me too. So I think it was after my 8th grade year, she knew that I needed to work on my stick handling and my shooting. And she was really good. Like she stick handled and shot pucks all the time. So every day she'd come up to my house and we would shoot pucks in the garage for hours, play games against each other, like do different stick handling drills. And then we'd go grab lunch. And at that point, I still couldn't drive, even getting into high school. So she'd bring me to the rink every day and drop me off after practice. And she was always just someone who, she really pushed me, and she also worked out with McClay and I for a few summers. So it felt like we were always together. And I think what is so different about Nat is she saw the potential in me that I don't think I ever even saw in myself. And I think like all those moments that we spent, working hard and she spent beating me a lot of the time. She knew that at some point I was going to get to a high level, and um, she's honestly part of the reason that I think I got to where I was, just because of how much she supported me and she pushed me every day. And I don't know, she's definitely the one in high school who made the biggest difference, I think.
Right on. So you kind of hit on this next one too, the improvement process that helped you get to the next level. You talked about working out with McClay during the summers. You talked about stick handling in your garage and some of the older hockey players helping you out with that stuff too. Maybe if you want to just delve into that a little bit more, maybe talk about the workouts. Was it something that you did every summer? Was it something maybe just that one summer between eighth and ninth grade? Just go a little bit deeper into that kind of stuff.
Okay. So yeah, I remember one summer too in sixth grade that I shot pucks with Brittany Hunnicky. So she came over and we shot pucks together, and that was seemed like the best thing ever. That was just one summer, and then let's see, I think in seventh grade I signed up for Raiders Express, never went, and McClay's like, "You need to start going," yelling at me, and I needed to. So finally he said, "You know what? You're done. If you're not going to go on your own, then you're going to come with me." And I said, "Okay, like, let's do it." He's my godfather. So I was like, well, I can't really tell him no. So beginning in seventh grade, every day, 5 days to 7 days a week, we'd go to the high school. He started teaching me Olympic lifts. We started out with like a pipe, like just learn how to do a lift together. And he was very detail oriented, which was great. Um, and then we slowly started progressing and getting further into the Olympic lifts and doing agility. And I remember when I was younger at that age too, we did a lot of like gymnastics and tumbling, just to be able to like better control my body as I was growing and kind of going through an awkward phase. So we did a lot of tumbling and stuff like that. And then, like I said, after eighth grade, I just made huge gains. It's finally when we started adding weight. And that summer, I became strong, became faster. And then, so then in ninth and 10th grade, I think we'd work out, because I wasn't in Spark yet. I only was in gym. So then we'd work out together every day outside of hockey season and wrestling season at the high school, still working on the Olympic lifts. And I think we did it like 3 to 4 days a week then. And then my junior and senior year, I did Spark, but then he'd also make me go work out after school too, if it wasn't hockey season. So I was, working out at least 5 days a week for probably 2 hours ish a day. That's definitely what set me apart when I got to college, is just the experience and the knowledge I had when it came to weightlifting. A lot of girls didn't have that, and it definitely set me apart my freshman year. But I'll never forget, like, McClay lived 2 houses down from me, and I'll never forget some of the random like Tuesday nights and in the middle of summer, he'd come down to the house at like 9 p.m. be like, "Hey, get your shoes on, you're going for a run." And I never questioned it. I just popped up, got my shoes on, and we'd go for a few mile run at 9 o'clock at night. Like, he always pushed me to work when someone else isn't. So we'd go on those late night runs, and then he just to test me mentally too. He'd make me get up at 5 or 4:30 in the morning to go to the high school and work out. So it's like you got home at 10 p.m. and you're waking up at 4:30. Like, you just got to kind of figure it out. I think that's what kind of made me mentally stronger as well as physically stronger. And I mean, he did that and then through college, we'd work out together every summer too. So I think I think we worked out together for 10 years.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah,
Wow.
we definitely got a lot closer. There was times I probably could have bit his head off, and he probably could have bit off mine too. But he's definitely the one who really elevated my game, and I would not have done that without him. So there was some
Nice.
horrible workouts and maybe better.
Nice. So we'll talk about college in a second, but let's just circle back. You graduate from Bemidji State and then you come back to Hastings. Why did you come back to Hastings, and what's this town mean to you?
Oh, this town means everything. My grandparents live here. A lot of my family lives here. It's just kind of like all I've ever known, but it's what I've always loved. I've always wanted to give back. I've always wanted to be a part of my community. And so yeah, when I graduated, when COVID hit last March, it was my senior year. I had one class left, and went on spring break and just never ended up going back to school. So my only choice was kind of to move home, and so I moved back in with mom and dad, and then yeah, I got engaged in August, and we ended up buying a house out of nowhere. It's actually 5 houses down from mom and dad, so now I'm really
You're stuck
stuck in
forever.
Hastings. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I couldn't even move off the road, so, I've always just wanted to give back. I've always wanted to be a part of this special community, so that was always my main goal, was to get back here.
Awesome. So you graduate from high school, you go to Bemidji State. So talk us through why Bemidji, where else were you looking? And then you committed pretty early too. So just walk us through the committing process and looking for colleges as well.
Yeah, so I the first letter I got was actually from Bemidji when I was in ninth grade. And at that point, I think they could only email Corkish and send me one letter in the mail. That was kind of like the recruiting protocols or something. Um, but I didn't go on any visits, I don't think, until that summer. And Bemidji was one of the first places I went to, and I did not want to go on a visit. I didn't know what Bemidji was. I didn't know who they were. Um, my parents literally had to drag me up there, and my dad almost turned around when we were going up there because I wouldn't stop complaining. So that was going into 10th grade, I believe, and then through 10th grade, some more letters came out. People reached out, but ultimately, by the end of 10th grade, I think I had visited Ohio State, the U of M, UMD, UND, and then UConn, and Bemidji. And those were the schools that I was strongly considering. I looked at Mankato, looked at St. Cloud. They just didn't really have the programs and stuff I wanted to go into. So I kind of just didn't really look into those super hard. Yeah, ended up committing to Bemidji on my birthday when I turned 16. And I just loved the school. When I got up there, it was a town kind of like Hastings. They had a big lake, kind of like our river. They had a cute little downtown area. The campus was fairly small, which was nice. There's only 5,000 people that go there. So the nicest part too is like walking around campus. The girls knew each other, and like the teachers know you, the faculty all know you, and it just kind of felt like like a really homey place to go. It reminded me of Hastings. And then the rink was spectacular, like some of the best facilities I've seen. It was fairly new that when I went and looked at it, and the coaches were amazing. The team, the girls were just goofy. I just felt like I fit right in. So yeah, I committed when I turned 16, and I'd never even questioned it once. And then yeah, I graduated in 2016 and went to BSU with goals of becoming a physician assistant. So I majored in medical biology and graduated in May.
Awesome. Can you walk through every single year you played hockey there as well?
Yeah.
Years you started, kind of maybe what line you played on, any other accomplishments, captain, how
Yep.
the team did as well, things like that.
Okay. So freshman year, I went in guns blazing. I broke a bunch of the records during the physical testing and stuff the first week. I was in like the best shape of my life, and the coaches saw that. They recognized it. They saw the hard work that I had to have put in to get there. So starting that season, I was actually on the first line with this two senior captains. And talk about intimidating. I was so scared, but I stayed on that line for a few months until our season kind of took a turn and we needed to change things up. Freshman year, we weren't very good. We had really good talent, but for some reason, we just couldn't put it all together. We were a really young team, and we just couldn't put together a streak that we needed to. So we didn't make it past the first round of playoffs, I don't believe. And every year I was in school, the first team we played in playoffs was UMD. And so I played UMD that year in first round of playoffs, and we went 3 games. No, we played the Gophers that year. We played the Gophers that year because we were so bad. We were the 7 seed, and we took them to 3 games in playoffs and almost beat them in the 3rd game, which would have been the first time in history that they lost in playoffs. I forgot about that. So
That's why
yeah,
we're
that
doing
was
this. That's why we're doing this right now. So you remember what happened.
yeah.
We got it down for
I
history.
thought I played UMD every year. Wow. Um, yeah, so that was actually really exciting because they had never been beaten playoffs in the first round of playoffs before. So we took them to game 3 that year, and it was huge. And then we only lost by 1 goal in the third game. Wow, yeah, that was exciting. Okay, and then sophomore year, I was on the second line the entire year. I guess, yeah, second line, and I was on the kill a lot though. I was on the penalty kill, kind of my specialty there. Was the number 1 kill unit, and really that's kind of where I just found that I just peaked. That's where I thrived. So dedicate a lot of time to that. And then yeah, that year too, I think we played Duluth that year. Like I think we played them 12 or 13 times, like an absurd amount of times.
Mhm.
Played them in like 2 different tournaments and regular season games. It felt like every other weekend we were playing them. Then we played them in playoffs at their place, and I think we beat them that year. Yeah, we did beat them that year in 3 games though, and it was like the longest 3 games of my life. Um, and then my junior year, I was on the second line again because we had a senior who played ahead of me. She was pretty good. She was solid. Her dad played in the NHL. Good person though, and so me and her were pretty tight. But yeah, I was the second line behind her. Really, I got onto the power play that year too, which was exciting. I hadn't really been a key component on the power play until that year. Kind of found my niche there and pushed hard to be an important unit. Uh, kept doing pretty good on the penalty kill. Loved blocking shots. Loved bruises. Uh, I guess I just loved getting hit by hard rubber. Um, and then that year again, we played Duluth an absurd amount of times. And then we played them again in playoffs. We lost in 3 games. And then senior year, I was the captain. I was an assistant captain that year. Got voted assistant captain. And then there's another assistant captain and a head captain. They were both seniors. And then going into senior year, I was just feeling pretty free. I don't know. I was looking to have like a good year, have fun with it. And got voted captain that year, co-captain with with my roommate, Abby. And then we started out really rough though. We started out, I think, 0-9-1 that year. We played 5 of the top 10 ranked teams to start out our first 10 games, and it was bumpy. It was tough. You know, we really had to learn how to persevere through those games, and it brought out some pretty dark sides in some people, but it really brought out like who the true leaders on the team were, and we just had to keep going. No one was going to feel bad for us. So we had to figure it out. We snapped out of it, went on like a 14 game win streak after that before the winter break. Um, had a really good second half of the year too. Ended up playing Duluth again in playoffs. And on so we went into 2 overtimes on Friday, ended up losing. And then we went into 5 overtimes, I think, on Saturday. So we'd been playing for, I think, almost like 5 hours at this point. And we ended up scoring in like the 5th overtime. But then we had to come back on Sunday and play again. And all of us were like, we thought we were going to die. It was horrible. Then Sunday's game was another close game, and we lost by 1 goal. But at that point, I was like, okay, there's nothing more that I could have done,
Mm-hmm.
like in this game or in this whole year. So I felt like I went out on like a pretty good note. Obviously, as sad as it was to play your last game, I felt like I had a lot of successes and a lot of good memories to come out of it.
That's great. So you talked about being a physician's assistant or wanting to be it and getting your major in line for that. Walk us through after you graduate from Bemidji. You talked about moving back in the same street as your parents, so moving back to Hastings and getting engaged and buying a house. So just walk us through the process of what's happened since you graduated from Bemidji State.
Yeah, so I starting last January, I had plans to become a medical scribe for Dr. Para, who's a Summit he's a orthopedic surgeon at Summit. So that was my goal. When I graduated, I was going to work for him. I was actually going to start in March by like partially moving home. And then COVID hit, moved home, but then elective surgeries and stuff shut down. So he wasn't doing clinics. So I wasn't working. And then I had to start studying for my GRE for it's a grad school admissions exam. And so I started studying for that because I didn't have a job. Um, it was hard to find one. And so I studied for that, took that. And then I had worked for Stepping Out. It's a group home in town. And I loved it. I absolutely loved the company. So, and they needed people. So I reached out and said, hey, like I'd love to come back. And so I started working there again last summer because they were so short staffed with COVID. And and then I started with Dr. Para again, I think, when elective surgeries opened up in July. At that point, I applied to all my PA schools. I think I applied to 6. I had interviews to 4 of them, and I got waitlisted at 3 of them. So it's kind of still where I'm sitting right now. My biggest thing was I was lacking the hands-on care that they wanted, just because of hockey and busy, and yeah, just never really having a steady job through college. But then I saw that the fire department was hiring EMT firefighters, and I was like, gosh, that'd be kind of cool, and that'd be a good way to get back to my community. I'd literally be working for the city. And so I applied, and I got hired there. And so I started my EMT school in September. I became a certified EMT in December, and I absolutely love it. I've been doing like my ride-alongs, and it's been so exciting, and I just love every experience that I have down there. So I've actually like decided to change my plans, and I'm planning on going. If I don't get into PA schools, I'm gonna go get my paramedic and become a paramedic, and hopefully work in town or wherever I can get a job. I just love. I never looked into it before. I was always so set on being a PA. I guess that's one thing I'd tell every other kid is to really explore your options. Because this is something that I get so excited to like go to work every day, and it's every day is different. So that's kind of my plan now.
No, that's neat. Something you didn't really expect or know too much about. It just
Never,
almost
yeah,
literally fell on your lap, and now you're loving it. That's really neat.
yeah. Without COVID, I don't think I would have ever looked into it.
That's great. So next one here then for you, Kiki. What ways do you think your experience playing high school athletics for Hastings still has an impact on you today? I know maybe with your job now, you got to keep working out. So I know all those late nights with McClay maybe having an impact on you. But
Yeah,
yeah, so once again, your high school experience, what kind of impact is it having on you today?
yeah. It definitely it taught you at like a young age that how to balance friends, school, sports, um, and still have some sanity. So I think that's like the one thing from high school, like being a student athlete, that a lot of people I don't feel like really get to experience is how much you learn to balance your life. And even now, still, like I'm working 3 jobs, and I'm constantly having to bobble my time and make time for friends and family and everyone still. So I feel like that's one thing, like as an athlete, that a lot of people just don't get. And with Hastings too, it's like everyone's so close here. So you come back, and I've been asked, come back out and skate with some of the girls and help people that I've never really even talked to before, but they just want to have, like someone who is successful here and come back and help out their girls and make them better. So I don't know, I've taken a lot away from high school, but definitely time management was key.
Hmm. Yeah, that was my next question then for you too. How are you still connected to athletics nowadays? Is there anyone in particular you're coaching one-on-one or a group or a club, a team, weightlifting or anything like that too?
Yeah, so I'm not coaching currently. I helped coach a team, the Woodbury varsity team, this summer, just because I knew a girl from college and she became their head coach there. So she wanted some young experienced girls to come help. So I helped her out. Just with the year that I've been having and kind of everything that's been going on, I haven't really had the time to coach anyone in particular. But I know like Jamie Stevens down at the fire department, he coaches the Bantam B team, I think, in town. And he's reached out to me, and he wants me to come out and like skate with the boys because he thinks his boys are knuckleheads. And so he wants me to come out there and show him, some little like tips and tricks that I've learned, and just kind of be a face out there for them to ask questions to. And help them along in any process that they have. I haven't really been in much contact with the Hastings girls. Some of the girls will text me occasionally, but yeah, right now I've kind of just taken a step back from hockey, I guess.
Right on. Couple questions here for you to wrap things up. And this is maybe one of the most, well, I think your whole life is important, but this is kind of one of the most important pieces here too. So if you could give parents or coaches two pieces of advice from your perspective, your experiences, what would they be and why?
So my first one was I would tell parents to not force their kid into something. Let them find the path that they want to go down. And if they don't want to put the time and energy into it, um, you forcing them to do it isn't going to make anything better. And then just support your children when whatever they want to pursue. That's something that my parents, I love that they did. If I wanted to play soccer for a year, go for it. I wanted to play golf for a year, go for it. You just never know where that experience might lead you. And I, I'm happy that I got to explore like every path that I could have imagined. And it's just something that I'd really push for a lot of kids in today's age too that are becoming one sport athletes is try other sports. Just go out and hang out with your friends. If that's all that really matters to you, just go do something because you might love it.
Excellent. Now, same kind of question for student athletes. So, two pieces of advice for current student athletes from your perspective, your experiences, what would they be and why?
So the one that always stands out to me, like from McClay, was work hard when no one else is watching and no one else is doing that. Do the work that other people don't want to do. Go in at 5 in the morning and work out. Go for a late night run or do something. Do sit ups and push ups during commercials. That's what I always did growing up, and always work when no one else is watching. And then the book that McClay made me read, which is one of the only books I've read probably
It
recently.
better be chop wood, carry water.
You bet it is.
Love it.
Honestly, probably the best book I've ever read in my life. Just taught me that you have to do every little thing day in and day out. You have to do it to perfection. Become an expert at the little things because they make a huge impact in your life, whether it's in your sport or in your personal life. Um, Put in every piece of effort that you have into everything.
Perfect. Yeah, chop wood, carry water by
Such a good
Joshua.
book.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best. Joshua Metcalf, one of my favorite authors and one of the best books around. So I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Well, Kiki, that's all I got for you. The mic is yours now. Anything I didn't ask you, anything you want to talk about, the floor is yours.
Oh, I think I'm good. I appreciate being asked on here. I hope that this makes an impact for some of the kids in the school. I wish I would have had this growing up. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Kiki.
yeah, thanks, Tim.